pop culture and robots in movies and robots in books existed a long time before real robots came on the scene. And so real robots have always had to deal with this image that they've got. And part of that image is the singularity, this idea that all the technology is going to spin out of control. Personally, I think when you're assessing the threat posed by robotics, the first thing you have to do is tease apart what's science fiction and what's part of that image and what is real science. And for me, in Robopocalypse, of course, the novel begins with the singularity. It's a fascinating situation that could go a lot of different ways. It really allows us to project all of our fears onto machines. But from the scientist's perspective, the singularity is not something I predict occurring anytime soon, or in any way that we might be able to predict. So I'm not afraid of the singularity as much as I see other areas to be more concerned with first.
Okay, now we've also interviewed Rodney Brooks, former head of the MIT Artificial Intelligence Laboratory at MIT, and he said that the probability that someone's going to create a robot that can act like us anytime soon is equivalent to the probability that a hurricane will take a bunch of garbage and create a Boeing 747 jetliner out of nothing. So do you believe, therefore, that people have underestimated the difficulty of creating real thinking machines that are like us? What are your thoughts?
I think we absolutely do underestimate that, because so much of what happens in our own brains occurs really without our having to think about it. And we do amazing things. When you look around and your brain is automatically segmenting all the objects that you can see and assigning names to it, and you just understand where you're at, and you're constantly mapping your environment, your brain is doing all these amazing things that you're not aware of. And when you really sit down and look at human beings and try to replicate their abilities, you suddenly hit with the fact that, oh, my God, it's going to take me a really long time to write my thesis because this is so hard to replicate. And the way I think of the singularity, kind of similar to Rod, is if you're a researcher in a lab and you're trying to make a smart machine and you realize you can only pick one small problem to solve, the idea that you would come into your lab in the morning and find the singularity has occurred is sort of like the idea that little elves would sneak into your lab, like into a cobbler's shop and build all of your shoes for you. It's not going to happen on its own.